Good afternoon. We're going to be reading not Glimpses of a Great Soul. We finished that book, so we'll be reading the life of, or not quite the life of Swami Abhedananda, but his encounters with Ramakrishna. And it's from the book God Lived with Them by Swami Chetanananda. If you're on Zoom and at home following along in your own book, it's page 443, and we're starting a new section. Last week we read the part of Swami Abhedananda started kind of serious religious study when he was 12 and 14. Now at this point, he was trying to get religious teaching from a Pandit Shashadhar, who was well known as a great Pandit. But he had no time and referred him to another scholar. So he was reading the Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali and Vedanta Vagisha. Told Kali he had no spare time to teach him the Yoga Sutras. He bought a copy of Shiva Samhita and was told not to study Hatha Yoga, but he was not told not to practice any of the methods described in Hatha Yoga treatises without being properly instructed by a competent yogi. So we're starting on with Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar. The scriptures did not quench Kali's thirst for knowledge. That was Abhedananda's pre-monastic name, Kali. So he desperately searched for a spiritual teacher. In June 1884, at this time he was 18 years old, Kali went to Dakshineshwar and met Sri Ramakrishna. In his autobiography, he describes his first meeting. I became restless to find a guru who could teach me yoga. I confided my desire to my classmate, Yaneshwar Bhattacharya, who was very fond of me. Yaneshwar told me, I know a wonderful yogi. His name is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and he lives in Rani Rashmani's temple garden in Dakshineshwar. He has no pretensions. Many respectable people visit him, and he sometimes comes to Calcutta. Perhaps he can fulfill your desire to learn yoga. My joy knew no bounds when I heard this from Yaneshwar, and I at once resolved to meet Sri Ramakrishna, though I had no idea where Dakshineshwar was. One Sunday morning, I started for Dakshineshwar by asking directions from people on the street. I crossed the Bagh Bazar Bridge and walked north to the Barakpur trunk road. It was quite a distance. I then asked a person on the road about the temple garden of Dakshineshwar. He told me, you've gone the wrong way. The Kali temple is on the bank of the Ganga. Finally, I reached the temple garden at 11 o'clock. When I asked about Sri Ramakrishna, a temple worker informed me that he had gone to Calcutta that morning. Disappointed, I was exhausted, having walked all the way barefoot in the sun. Disappointed, I sat on the steps of Sri Ramakrishna's northern veranda and wondered how I would ever go back to Calcutta. I was hungry and thirsty. I was dead tired. I had no money. I had not informed my family as to where I was going. I had no acquaintances in Dakshineshwar, and moreover, I had no strength to walk back to Calcutta. I began to cry. Just then, another young man arrived and asked me about Sri Ramakrishna. I told him that he had gone to Calcutta. The young man was also disappointed. We then talked and got acquainted with each other. On inquiry, I learned that his name was Shashi. Now, this would be Swami Ramakrishnananda later on. He advised me about my circumstances, saying, have a bath in the Ganga, take prasad, and then return to Calcutta after a rest. Later in the afternoon, when I expressed my intention to return to Calcutta, Shashi told me, "You should not return home without seeing the master. Is there any certainty that such an opportunity will come again in your lifetime? Since you have come to see him with so much difficulty, it's better for you to wait." I knew my parents would be worried about me because I had not told them where I was going. Understanding how I felt, Shashi said to me, "Look, brother, I have also come here without informing my parents. Don't worry. We shall stay here tonight. The master will positively return from Calcutta by late evening, as he never stays overnight at any devotee's house in Calcutta." Shashi showed me around and in the evening took me to the Kali temple to attend the Vesper service. I felt tremendous peace and joy. Ramlal, the master's nephew, gave us some luchis and sweets for refreshments. We waited on the northern veranda for the master's arrival. Finally, a horse carriage arrived at the northeastern corner of the master's room, and Shashi and Ramlal went to receive the master. My heart was beating hard. I stood where I was, motionless. After getting down from the carriage, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Kali, Kali, Kali," entered his room, and sat on his small cot. Ramlal and Shashi informed the master about me while I waited on the veranda. Then Ramlal came out and said that the master was waiting for me. I entered the room and bowed down to him. The master asked about me, and I told him, "I have a desire to learn yoga. Would you kindly teach me?" The master kept quiet for a while and then said, "It is a good sign that you have a desire to learn yoga at this young age. You were a yogi in your previous life. A little was left for perfection. This will be your last birth. Yes, I shall teach you yoga. Rest tonight and come to me again tomorrow morning." The next morning, Ramlal told me the master was waiting to see me. Entering his room, I bowed down to him. He then asked me what I was studying, and I replied, "I am now in the entrance class, 10th grade. "Very good," said the master. Then he took me to the northern veranda. He asked me to sit on a cot. When I was seated in the lotus posture, the master asked me to stick out my tongue. As soon as I did that, he wrote a mantra on it with the middle finger of his right hand and advised me to meditate on Kali, the Divine Mother. I did what he said. Gradually, I lost outer consciousness and sat in deep meditation. I felt an unspeakable joy within. I don't know how long I stayed in that condition. After some time, the master touched my chest and brought me back to outer consciousness. He then asked me what had happened, and I told him about my blissful experience during meditation. He was very pleased. Afterwards, the master instructed me on meditation and sang these lines of a mystical song. "When will you sleep in the divine chamber with the clean and the unclean, the good and the evil? When these two wives are friendly to each other, Mother Shyama will be within your reach." Basically saying when there's no difference between good and evil, clean and unclean, when you see oneness, you will have the vision of Kali. The master further told me to meditate every morning and again at night, and to report to him my visions and spiritual experiences. Then the master asked me to go to the Kali temple and meditate there. When I returned from the temple, the master gave me prasad and asked me to visit him again. He even offered to provide my fare if I could not get it from home. In the meantime, a devotee had arrived by carriage from Calcutta to visit the master, and the master asked me to return home with that devotee. On the way back home, I thought of the master's overwhelming love and compassion. Meanwhile, a great commotion erupted at Kali's home when he had not returned by Sunday afternoon. His mother cried, thinking that he might have drowned in the Ganga. His parents searched for him in every possible location. At last, his mother remembered that recently Kali had inquired about the temple garden of Rani Rashmani, so she asked her husband to go to Dakshineshwar. The next morning, Rasiklal reached Dakshineshwar and learned from Sri Ramakrishna that Kali had already left for Calcutta. Kind of like phone tag, but days before the phones. While leaving Dakshineshwar, Rasiklal said to Ramakrishna, "Sir, Kali is my son. Please advise him to get married and become a householder." "Your son is a great yogi," replied Ramakrishna. "As he does not want to get married, what good would it be to force him to marry?" Rasiklal said, "It is the supreme dharma for a son to serve his parents." Ramakrishna kept quiet. With great relief, Rasiklal returned home. Now you notice Ramakrishna did not answer. He just stayed quiet. Spiritual life is not always smooth and easy. Without exception, every seeker of God faces internal as well as external obstacles. After his first visit, Kali felt an attraction for the master, and whenever he could, he went to see him in Dakshineshwar. His father did not approve of these frequent visits, and he locked the main door of the house so that Kali could not go to Dakshineshwar. One afternoon, someone left the door unlocked. Kali ran to the Ahirtola Ghat and went to Dakshineshwar by boat. That night, he stayed with the master. Kali began to practice spiritual disciplines under the master's guidance, and through his grace was blessed with many wonderful visions of gods and goddesses. One day while meditating at home, Kali saw various gods and goddesses and divine incarnations, Krishna, Christ, Chaitanya, and others, merge one by one into the luminous form of Sri Ramakrishna. He hastened to Dakshineshwar and narrated this experience to the master. To this, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Ah, you have seen Vaikuntha, the abode of Vishnu. Henceforth, you will no longer have these visions. You have risen to the formless state." This proved to be true. From then on, during meditation, Kali's mind was absorbed in the infinite, the vastness of the impersonal Brahman, rather than divine forms. After this vision, Kali was fully convinced that the master was an avatar, as he later wrote in a Sanskrit hymn to Sri Ramakrishna. I think that's the one we sing every night at Vespers. Om Ring? Yep. Om Ring Ritan.
Yeah, because Swamiji wrote Kandana.
Yeah, Swami Vivekananda wrote...
Oh, you're right, he did. Swamiji wrote Om Ring.
Yeah, Swamiji wrote Om Ring, and I think Abhedananda wrote Kandana.
No, he didn't. It's Swamiji
Okay.
did that one too. He did actually go to Divine Mother.
Oh, okay.
He did referencing our mom, yeah.
Ramakrishna trained each disciple separately. As Ramakrishna did not teach through books or through any set curriculum, it is important to learn from each disciple how he was trained. This is why we're going through the books, the various lives of all the direct disciples. Kali wrote in his autobiography, "Whenever I went to Dakshineshwar, I would give personal service to the master. I would carry his towel and water pot when he went to the pine grove to answer the calls of nature. Sometimes the master would walk around the Panchavati with his hand on my shoulder. I also went with the master to Girish Ghosh's Star Theater to see the Chaitanya Leela and Prahlad Charitra. Every Saturday and Sunday, devotees would gather at Dakshineshwar to see the master. I also began visiting him on Saturday afternoons, returning to Calcutta the following day with some of the devotees. Thus, I became acquainted with the other disciples of the master. I would really feel immense bliss in my heart to hear the teachings of the master. When in ecstasy, he would sometimes laugh, sometimes cry, sometimes dance, and sometimes go into samadhi. Again, at other times, he would joyously sing in his melodious voice the songs of Ram Prasad, Kamalakanta, and other mystic composers. Occasionally, he would sing kirtan, depicting Radha and Krishna's divine play in Vrindavan. Sometimes while describing the divine play of Rama and Sita, he would, like the great Saint Tulsidas, float in an ocean of bliss. The spirit of the harmony of religions was reflected in Sri Ramakrishna's everyday life, and he constantly taught his followers the liberal, universal message, as many faiths, so many paths. Ramakrishna also used to teach us to chant Haribol, Haribol, literally chant the name of the Lord, loudly while clapping our hands. Well, when someone asked him the reason for clapping one's hands, he said, as the birds, of the tree fly away when one claps one's hands loudly, so the sinful thoughts of the mind go away when one chants God's name while clapping one's hands. Every evening in Dakshineshwar, the master would sit on his bed facing the north and repeat Haribol, Haribol, while clapping his hands. Sometimes he would repeat, Hari is my guru is Hari. O Krishna, O Krishna, O Govinda, you are my life and soul. Not I, but thou, thou. I am an instrument, you are the operator. Then he would go into ecstasy. In that state, he would importune Mother Kali, but his words would not be audible to us. Watching his God-intoxicated state, we were amazed. We felt that the Master was in communion with the Divine Mother, that he was talking to her, and that the Mother was answering his questions. We realized that Sri Ramakrishna was not a human being. He was God. Ramakrishna taught us to practice japa and meditation every morning and evening. About meditation, he sometimes referred to his naked guru, Todapuri's illustration, telling us, Toda used to say that if a brass water pot is not cleaned every day, stains accumulate on it. Likewise, if the mind is not cleaned by meditation every day, impurities accumulate in it. Sometimes, while teaching us, the Master would tell us about his own sadhana, his own practice. He said, when I meditated, I became like a motionless stone image. Sometimes birds sat on my head, but I could not feel them. In fact, During deep meditation, when the mind becomes still and motionless, one does not notice if flies or mosquitoes sit on the body. The master used to say that this is a sign of a concentrated mind. Well, I know people who have sat in the temple here when the flies start buzzing, and I think we start going. Whenever Ramakrishna visited the devotees' homes in Calcutta, Kali would go there and listen to the master's wonderful conversations. On the 3rd of July, 1884, he went to Balaram's house in Bug Bazaar, where the master had gone to attend the chariot festival of Jagannath. That's an incarnation of Krishna. Kali recorded the event. Many devotees were present, and Vaishnav Charan sang kirtan. O tongue, always repeat the name of Mother Durga. Who but your Mother Durga will save you in distress? As soon as Sri Ramakrishna heard a line or two of the song, he went into samadhi. Then the master sang, O Mother, for Jashoda thou would dance when she called thee her precious blue jewel. In the meantime, a small decorated chariot of Lord Jagannath had been brought to the upper veranda, and the master pulled it along with the devotees. While pulling the chariot, the master sang, Behold, the two brothers, Gauranga and Nityananda, have come, who weep while chanting Hari's name. He sang again, See how all Nadya, the birthplace of Gauranga, is shaking under the waves of Gauranga's love. Gauranga is Chaitanya's, Sri Chaitanya. It was a divine sight. The master sang and danced in ecstasy, and the devotees joined him. Afterwards, the master sat in the big hall and told Pandit Shashadhar, This is called Bhajanananda, or the bliss derived from the worship of God. Worldly people enjoy pleasures derived from lust and gold, and devotees attain the bliss of Brahman through the worship of God. Thus the devotees pass joyful days. Ramakrishna was very fond of ice cream. One hot summer day in April, a Calcutta devotee brought some ice cream for him, which he relished like a young boy. Coincidentally, from then on he had a sore throat. At first he ignored it, but it was finally diagnosed as cancer. Several doctors were consulted who prescribed various medicines. Despite his illness, Ramakrishna continued to teach his disciples. In the month of Jaistha, May-June, 1885, Kali went with the master to attend the Vaishnava festival at Panihati, where he witnessed the master in samadhi during kirtan. It was the master's last outing. After this trip, his pain increased and was unrelenting. He had great difficulty in swallowing, eating, and talking. Kali recalled, One day Golap Ma said to the master, Dr. Durga Charan of Calcutta is a reputable physician. Perhaps he can find some remedy for you. Immediately, the master agreed to visit him. That night, I stayed at Dakshineshwar. Latu and Golap Ma were also there. The next morning, the master, Golap Ma, Latu, and I went to Calcutta by boat. After landing there, we rented a horse carriage and went to the doctor's office at Beedon Square. Out of his mercy, the master asked me to sit next to him, and Golap Ma and Latu sat on the opposite seat. The doctor examined the master's throat and prescribed some medications. We then went to the Ahiratola Ghat and rented a boat for Dakshineshwar. It was about 1:30 p.m., and none of us had any food. The master was hungry. He asked the boatman to anchor the boat at the Baranagor Ghat, and then asked me to buy some sweets from a nearby market. Golapma had 4 pies with her, which she gave me. I immediately went to the market and bought some chana murki, small sweetened cheese balls. The master took the packet of sweets from my hand and joyfully ate them all. He then threw the empty packet into the Ganga and drank some water from the river with his hands. He showed his satisfaction. The master knew that the 3 of us were hungry, but without sharing any sweets, he had eaten everything. It was amazing. As soon as his hunger was relieved, our own stomachs felt full. We looked at each other silently. Then the master smiled and, like a boy, began to make jokes, which he continued all the way to Dakshineshwar. We all got out of the boat, and later the 3 of us discussed what had happened and realized that it was a miracle. A similar event occurred when Krishna was alive and enacted his divine play. When the 5 Pandavas and their wife Draupadi were living in the forest during their exile, the sage Durvasa went to their cottage with his 1,200 disciples and asked for food. According to the custom, guests had to be fed, for otherwise it would be very inauspicious. Durvasa and his disciples went to the river for a bath, and while they were gone, the helpless Draupadi called on Krishna to come to her rescue. Krishna came and asked Draupadi for some food. There was nothing but a few particles of rice and a little spinach at the bottom of a cooking vessel. Krishna ate this and drank a glass of water, and by doing so, filled the stomachs of Durvasa and his disciple. So it is said, if God is pleased, the whole world becomes pleased. That day, I realized this truth by observing Sri Ramakrishna's life. Very similar to the story of the loaves and fishes of Jesus. The loaves and fishes fed everyone. Any questions about what we've read or comments? Anyone from Zoom? Leto, Leanne, John, Elizabeth, and Dottie. I know that's you. Okay, no questions? Saturday, first of all, we have Friday, the 4th of July. It is Friday, right? Okay, we will have a program in Trabuco in Orange County, our monastery. And the puja starts, it's a celebration of Swami Vivekananda. Everyone is invited to come. The puja starts in the monastery at 12 noon. Usually starts a little earlier. At 1:30, there will be a vegetarian luncheon served. And if people are bringing desserts, please bring ones that don't need refrigeration. It's usually really hot in Trabuco. 2:45, there will be a special program. Expansion is life. Contraction is death. There will be an introduction by Swami Chetanananda, who's the resident monk in Trabuco, in charge, and then Swami Abhedananda and Swami Sarvadevananda will talk. There will be musical performances by Narayan Hathaway, Zach Churchill, and David and Heather Hathaway. And it takes, I think the programs finally end around 4:30, don't they? Something like that. It's, if any of you need to get to Trabuco, you go down, we go the 405 to the 5 and get off at Trabuco Canyon Road, I think.
El Toro.
El Toro. And we go out, and you go into the canyons, towards the mountains, not towards the ocean. That's why it's really hot. Until you get to You'll get the directions.
I think you should just go to Ramakrishna Monastery,
Ramakrishna Monastery, Trabuco Canyon. Google it.
find it online.
Yep. Then Saturday we will have our gospel reading. Swami Chetanananda will be here for it. He will do the gospel reading at 5 in the temple. And he will also give the talk Sunday morning at 11. And his topic is the story on stories, which I'm very curious about. But I guess that we have to wait till Sunday to figure out what it is. The other event we're having will be Monday the 14th. Swami Abhedananda will give the talk on Sunday the 13th. Swami Sarvapriyananda will give a talk at 5 o'clock on Monday the 14th on the Light of Lights, and there will be a potluck following Arati. Everyone's invited. Bring some food if you're coming. Okay? No other questions or anything? Okay. I'm sorry?
Karma Yoga Day.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Davy. On the 12th, which is right before Vedarupananda's lecture and Sarvapriyananda's visit, we are having Karma Yoga Day. And as everyone knows, we love to have our Karma Yogis come between 9:15, 9:30, come down to the convent. We'll have a list of jobs, and everyone will get a job that they find suitable for themselves. If it's not too,
And we feed them.
yes. If it's too hot, we won't be outdoors, unless it's foggy in the morning, and then we'll be outdoors doing some work. But otherwise, we have other jobs. And then at 1 o'clock, we all eat lunch together. We supply the lunch for our Karma Yogis. So please just come. We've been having good attendance on it the last few months. Very nice attendance. And on Karma Yoga Day, you get to meet the other devotees, because oftentimes you come to the temple and it's kind of anonymous. Not too many people come up and say, hi, how are you, what you doing? We tend to be a little hands-off for a while, let you get comfortable here. But it's nice to meet the community of devotees. So please come if you are here in town. Okay. I think we have quite a few events because we have visiting swamis and nuns. One of our nuns from Ridgely will be here also this month, and she'll be giving a talk and a potluck. Okay, so we'll end with a chant, and I hope to see most of you on the 4th of July down in Orange County. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Good to see you all. The ones on Zoom too.